What up, what up, what up, football fans all over the world? It's your boy Mac, the Giants fan, here with my guy, the super dope co-host, Adam Costas. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for that real deal NFC East. Round up. Watch that intro. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. I am Mac, the Giants fan, here with my guy, the super dope co-host, Adam Costas. Man, how are you feeling, Adam?
I am feeling great. We are back. We are back, Mac. I have not been more excited to come back. I circled this date on the calendar. I'm like, oh my God, we need to come back here. And here we are. It feels like so long ago since we've had a show to even discuss football. And here we are. We're going to be in your living rooms, on your TVs, on your laptops, iPad, wherever you're going to listen to us. We're going to be here every Wednesday from now until hopefully February. Maybe not February, but, we'll see. We'll yet to be determined on when the football season for the NFC East will be over. But I am glad to be back, man.
Absolutely, man. It is upon us. Can smell it in the air. You just know when football season's coming, man. There's something about it. It's just the atmosphere, and it's almost here. And we getting ready to break down a little bit about the NFCs as they get ready for training camp. And I think this division is going to take a turn this season. Myself personally, we'll talk about that, all that, as the show goes on, man. But I think this is going to be a really, really great year, man. I'm excited. And if you're ready, we can get started with the world champion Philadelphia Eagles.
We still got to call that.
You said what?
We still got to call them world champs. I mean,
excuse me. I do stand corrected. Oh my God, I can't even believe it. Giving them too much goddamn credit. No. The remaining division champs, the Philadelphia Eagles, going for a three-peat in the division, something that definitely hasn't been done probably in God knows how long. But them going back-to-back was the first time it's happened in over 20 years. So what you got? Any thoughts you got on the Eagles right now, Adam?
First off, I laughed because I was like, Mac, what are we annoying these guys? What did I miss something? Did I miss a memo? I thought it was the Seahawks that won the Super Bowl, not the Eagles. So
anyway, that was a bad fumble right there. Shaking off the offseason rust, man. Shaking off the offseason rust.
Exactly. That's what you put it on. You're just shaking off the offseason rust. So let me get into the Eagles, and I'll start with the top because, they've had some drama with their team, not as much as like the Giants being in the blotter and all over the place, but they've had some drama. They had to part ways with AJ Brown. He's talking shit on the way out, right? You got Nick Sirianni. Let me get to him real quick. I had a discussion with you earlier, and I said something dawned on me about the Eagles. I said they're in the same boat they were last year. I went, what do you mean, Adam? They don't have an offensive coordinator that you can trust. Last year, they had the Peludo or whatever that guy's name was that was hired internally by Nick Sirianni, and it was a complete disaster, an absolute disaster. The year prior to that, they had – so let's go over it. In 2022, they go to the Super Bowl, right? They lose Shane Steichen, the guy that got them there, the guy that constructed their offense under Nick Sirianni. Then they had Desai, right? That guy decided in 2023. They completely collapsed in 2023. They didn't do anything. They lost, 5 games down the stretch, and they were horrible. They were 10-1 to start the season and lost like 5 in a row towards the end, or 4 in a row towards the end of the last 6. Then they get Kellen Moore in 2024. No coincidence. They also get Barkley, and he goes for 2,000 yards, and they win the Super Bowl. So then what happens? Then they get rid of Kellen Moore. He goes on to be the Saints coach. And KP, we'll call him, gets promoted. Nothing goes right for this team. They look so dysfunctional on offense. It is not even funny. So he gets fired, obviously. So what you would think would happen would be Nick Sirianni, who's an offensive guy. That's how he got his job. So he got his chops, was being an offensive coordinator. You would think he would take over the play calling. No, I read an article today that he's going to let Sean Mannion, his new offensive coordinator. Yeah, folks, that's Sean Mannion. If you're scratching your head, don't worry, because we're scratching our head too with who the heck Sean Mannion is. All right, he played quarterback in the NFL. I think he was last with the Rams or in the Rams organization. I could be wrong. I could be thinking about another quarterback that's not that good. But let's be real. Okay, why would you do this again? Why would you do this again? This is the one thing, if I'm an Eagle fan, that I'd be pissed off about, right? Is Nick Sirianni take some responsibility. Be the offensive coordinator. It hasn't worked out the last 2 seasons since Kellen Moore has left and the season prior to Kellen Moore getting there. And why was Kellen Moore a better offensive coordinator? Because he knew what he was doing. He was offensive coordinator for the Chargers, right? He had offensive coordinator experience with the Cowboys. Okay, he was already in the role. He knew how to call plays. You're getting guys off the street promoting from within, thinking that you got the right candidates. Well, guess what? You're the guy that they point to. So be responsible. If I was an Eagle fan, that would rub me the wrong way with Nick Sirianni, because at some point you've got to take the reins on your offense. You can't just give it to a new guy and say, you know what, I'm going to let him do this and I'm going to be the head coach. Sure, it's worked for you, but if you look at the success of the Eagles in this last 4 or 5 years they've been with Sirianni, when they've had competent offensive coordinator play, they've been in the Super Bowl twice, winning one of those 2 Super Bowl appearances. When they've had crappy offensive coordinator play in 2023 and 2025, they could not do anything. And they had a potent offense in 2023 with DeAndre Swift, A.J. Brown. They still had a lot of good talent there. They couldn't do anything down the stretch. They were at 11 personnel and couldn't do anything until they got Barkley, where then Kellen Moore was like, oh, yeah, we'll just run with number 26. So now you're going to get this Sean Mannion guy who is here. Now, no disrespect to you, Sean Mannion. You're probably a nice guy. Heck, I would hope that oh, there he is. Here he is, folks. Let me read you his resume. Sean Mannion, a Marion coach, right? That's Sean Mannion, the backup quarterback for the Vikings back in the day, the Green Bay Packers. He's played with the Eagles of the National Football League, right? Like the Rams. He was with the Rams. He was with Minnesota. He went back to the Vikings, and then he was with Green Bay. He was an offensive assistant and a quarterback's coach last year with Green Bay, and he became an offensive coordinator with the Eagles, hired as an offensive coordinator. Now, you might like what he did in Green Bay, I guess with Jordan Love. Maybe that's the attraction to him. But let me break it down to you this way, right? The Giants, and I'm not trying to compare them because we'll get to the Giants at the end, but I'm just using the Giants right now as their coaching. They have Matt Nagy, they have Brian Callahan, and they have Greg Roman. That's 3 offensive coordinators on one roster. And Sean Mannion is your pick? You got guys out there that have had more experience doing more things, and you bring in Sean Mannion, a guy who's been a quarterback's coach for a year where, yeah, sure, he made Malik Willis a lot of money, but will he be able to call the offense? Do you even have the same personnel that you ran in Green Bay? I'm really hoping this works out for you, Nick Sirianni, because to start this season, if everything goes wrong offensively, they're going to be pointing the finger at you. They're not going to be pointing at Sean Mannion. He's going to get the pass in my eyes. You're the guy. You're the man. This is your choice. You better hope it works out.
Well, I mean, on the show, Sean Mannion, he's just another guy added to a very long list of offensive coordinators the Eagles have had as of late. And personally, I'm starting to feel a little bad for Jalen Hurts. I mean, this guy just wants yet again come to the NFL in 2020, man, and his league in 2020, and he's now on to his 6th different offense since 2020. I mean, just basically every year he's pretty much just learned a new offense basically every damn season, pretty much. And I'm starting to almost feel bad for this guy because he has to keep coming out here and proving to everyone like that he's a legit quarterback in this league for whatever reason. This guy that Super Bowl MVP just has thus far, I feel like, has had a great start to his career in the NFL, and yet he has to seem to keep coming out there and continuously proving every year. I mean, I'm not a fan of the guy, obviously, but at the end of the day, I mean,
my
eyes don't lie. This guy gets it done. He gets it done.
Well,
Might not always be pretty, but he gets it done.
You bring up an interesting point about Jalen Hurts, and I'm going to move off of him to Sirianni and go to Hurts because I had an epiphany about that guy too. So recently, I got on a phone call with our co-host Zion Zenith. You guys know who he is. He hangs out with us a lot on Premium Takes. But he was on the phone with me, and we were talking about quarterbacks. And in the discussion, I said to somebody that, to me, Jalen Hurts is a gamer. Like, he doesn't necessarily do a lot of things well, but when the game's on the line and a big play needs to be made, he does deliver in clutch moments. Like, he does have that gene where he can make a play or two when it matters most. Does it happen often? Did it happen often a lot last year? No. But I don't think he's an elite quarterback by any stretch. I like him as a quarterback. If I'm the Eagles, I think I can do better if I wanted to, but there are limitations to his game. But the one thing I will say is he does have that gamer mentality, the guy where you're going to go in and he may be ugly the entire game, and then he'll throw the ball over the top for you real quick, or he'll make a deep play at a prime time. The game that stands to mind is I was watching I think it was it quarterbacks. I was watching, I forget what game it was, or what documentary it was, but they had the Eagles on. They're playing Minnesota, and he threw a bomb down the field. He just threw a bomb down the field to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And you look at those games and you're like, man, that's what Jalen Hurts can do. Then you look at other games where he kind of gets bogged down if he doesn't have the run game going, right? Like, I feel like Jalen Hurts is a great point guard to a certain extent. He can dish out. He can make a few shots. But if you want him to carry you through the whole game, he's not that. But if you want to carry or float or keep the team afloat the entire game and you need him to make a play, that's when I feel Jalen Hurts can really hurt you. To me, like, from start to finish, if you're behind, he's not the guy that I'm like, oh, yeah, he's going to throw us back into this game. He might, make a few big plays to keep it close. But if the Eagles are close in the fourth quarter, I don't want him to have the ball because I'm afraid he's going to do his little go route and throw it downfield to Devontae Smith. Well, it used to be A.J. Brown, didn't have that guy anymore. But let's say Mekhi Lemon. So for me, I know where you're saying, and this may be a take where it's like, oh, you really hate Jalen Hurts. My eyes are telling me and my instincts are telling me that while Jalen Hurts is good and I respect his accolades and what he's done, his Super Bowl MVP, no one can ever take that away from him. I think he played his best game I've seen in those two Super Bowls, were two of the best Super Bowl performances of a quarterback that I've seen in a few years. As the opposing side, he outplayed Mahomes in 2022, sans one play, and he did a very good job in 2024 to earn the right to be there. So for me, I understand his accolades, but there are some things that to me that are like, okay, how can they work around these limitations, and what are they going to do to keep him the gamer that he is, right? And that's just how I feel about Jalen.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, that's a perfect thing that perfect title to call. He's a gamer, though. I mean, this guy does win. I mean, point blank and period, he wins. Whether it's not always the prettiest, right, but he wins. Right. He gets it. He's effective. Clinton Jones, man, thanks for stopping in. How you doing? We're doing great, man. Football season's almost back, man. So we're ready. We're fired up. And man, as you see, me and Adam, we back at it, man. Each and every going to be back at it each and every Wednesday, man. From here until the NFC East is no longer in it. So we back at it, man, with the real deal NFC East roundup. But since you brought his name up and I was ready to segue into him, I mean, I think that's one thing that I have noticed this offseason with my conversations with the several Eagle fans that I deal with on my day-to-day life. And I think a lot of them are just really, really sleeping on the impact of A.J. Brown and the loss and how big of a loss it actually is. Not to have a slight at Devontae Smith, because he now gets the opportunity to step in and be that true number one guy. See if he's ready for that role. But I think a lot of them are just kind of downplaying, and I don't know if that's just the Eagle fan in them, but just downplaying how significant it is a loss A.J. Brown is, man. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
I will say I agree with you. It's going to be a big loss, and here are some reasons why. You're giving up a veteran player, right, who's done it in the league for a guy in Mekhi Lemon who, yes, he did it at USC, but is he going to do it in the league? It's one thing to look good on your highlights. It's another thing to produce in the NFL. Now, Devontae Smith did produce. I think Devontae Smith can handle the number one role, as he should. He's a gamer as well. We will see if you will see the impact felt by AJ Brown when Mekhi Lemon doesn't run the right route on a go ball or on a 3rd and 8 or 3rd and whatnot. When the inexperience comes in to play, that's when you're going to see it. It also makes me wonder what they're going to do on offense, because you named one skill position player. Okay, how many other skill position players they still have left? I mean, are they going to use Saquon Barkley? Because people forget how good Barkley was because of A.J. Brown being on the field. But then what happens when A.J. Brown's off the field? People are not going to respect the young player the same, right? So how can I respect, your offense when one of your best players is out? I don't have to trust the rookie. So it really changes up defensively what you do, especially now that you don't have to worry about Dallas Goedert and maybe Devontae Smith, because they don't have a lot of great skill position players. But let me just make sure that we're not talking out of pocket here with some of their players. I'm on their roster now, and wide receiver they've
added Hollywood Brown, Dontavian Wicks, a couple guys they've added.
Okay, so those are going to be receiver by committee. That's what they're going to be. I mean, those guys don't really scare me. They make plays here and there, but you drafted Mekhi Lemon to be number one, and those other guys are hopefully going to boost his stack. But I can tell you right now, A.J. Brown is better than everybody on the roster that they got not named Devontae Smith. I mean, my God. I mean, what are we talking about? Quez Watkins, Devontae and Wicks. He's great. He did things in Green Bay, but am I really relying on him? Johnny Wilson, who was a young player that is coming up. I mean, they don't have a lot of threatening guys. They still have Dallas Goedert. They still have Grant Calcaterra, right? We'll see if Eli Stowers can do anything for them. He's the kid out of Purdue that was pretty nice. But if you look at their overall skill position players, there's not a lot out there. So yeah, the impact will be felt for AJ Brown. When you're an Eagle fan, you're out there, right? And you're in the first game against the Commanders, and you're sitting out there, and they're running, and let's say the Commanders get a big sack, right? Commanders get a big sack. Jalen Hurts is in 3rd and 12, and you're out there, and you're running with Devontae Wicks, Marquise Brown, who couldn't make it anywhere else. He couldn't even make it in, I think, didn't he go to Kansas City as well as leaving the Baltimore Ravens? So you got a guy who's a Smurf, who's not as big as A.J. Brown, who now will he be on the same page as Jalen Hurts in this offense? It really is a lot of moving parts here. And this is what people don't get, is when you have a guy who's been around and understands the games and things like that, where you have these young guys who are still feeling their way around the offense, there's going to be mistakes being made. What will this Eagle team do when these mistakes are happening with these young guys? Because Mekhi Lemon, I'm going to tell you right now, that guy's going to make a mistake, okay? You might like him in the draft. You might do this. He ain't going to be a gangbusters right away. There's going to be some growing pains as he goes. I mean, even Malik Neighbors had a few growing pains in some games his first year, right? He became more and more dominant as the season progressed, and he got better. But he had his moments. He made plays. You saw why he was the number one pick, but also he had moments. Same with a lot of other receivers. So you're losing that with A.J. Brown. The one thing I will say that they are gaining, though, they are gaining less of a distraction. That's what I will say they are gaining, because you don't have to deal with the A.J. Brown reading a book on the sideline, not engaging with the quarterback, getting into the baby mama, side chick drama that they had going on there. I don't understand really why you're mad that your man is not telling you that your side chick is like, it was a whole weird story that A.J. Brown or whatever came out. And it was ridiculous to even hear that this is what is really the rift in the locker room over this. Like, really, bro, there's other things to be worried about, and you're doing this. But you saw how it fractured the team. So maybe it's subjection by attraction. Maybe, you get rid of A.J. Brown, but you're bringing in a better overall attitude.
What is going on in the chat, man? Joe Ferry's my guy, man. How you doing, man? It's almost football season, bro. But he says the whole wide receiver core is like 350 pounds. I mean, they are some small. They are some small dudes, man. They are some pretty small dudes. They might need a little bit more size, man. He says Mekhi Lemon is like Malibu's most wanted dude, total fake gangster. Love to see him go over the middle against a real man. Just say what's up, Clinton.
Well, Joe, I'm not saying that you're wrong with Mekhi Lemon, right? He wasn't my favorite receiver coming out. You can ask Zion. Zion had a bit of a read on him. What I'm saying is that does he fit in the offense that they're trying to run? Because right now, I don't know the identity of the Eagles' offense, right? When Kellen Moore was here, I knew it was Saquon Barkley and then Jalen Hurts. Now, do you want to run the ball through Jalen Hurts? Do you want to run it through Barkley? What are you going to do? And with A.J. Brown, you had that extra big body out there with the run game to run downhill. You don't got that with Mekhi Lemon. You don't have the same big personnel out there. And when they did a lot of double tights and one receiver, A.J. Brown was out there, right? And they don't have that guy anymore. So you're going to have to adjust whether you like it or not. What will the adjustment be? And this is where I think, again, we're talking about the Eagles and Nick Sirianni to start out. This is where I want to see, if I'm an Eagle fan, the depth of Nick Sirianni. What are you going to do with these guys? Because there's not a legitimate number 2 yet that's really been established. Can you tell me who the number 2 is? I'm not saying Mekhi Lemon, but I mean, right now, gun to your head, do you know who you think it would be?
I mean, I think that's who it would be. I mean, that's why you went and got him.
Okay, so then that, to me, if Mekhi Lemon is your legit number 2, that leaves me a lot of strategic things that go against me. Because now if I'm Dan Quinn in game 1, and we'll retouch this when we get closer, but if I'm looking at him as a strategic standpoint, I'm looking at my best corner, and I'm like, okay, you're on Devontae Smith, and we'll give you help if we need to. But then we're putting our next best corner on this guy, and it's like, if you can't beat a rookie with your experience as a cornerback or whatever it is, like Trey Amos being number 2 and being able to scheme up some guys, that's where you're going to lose yourself, right? You're not going to have the veteran savvy on third down. I mean, those are the things you're going to have to figure out. And I think you're right, Mac. They need to really understand they lost an all-pro. They didn't just lose some receiver like Amani Toomer or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They lost a guy that I consider a special talent in A.J. Brown, and I think that's going to have an effect. And I think it's going to have a bigger effect than a lot of these Eagle fans that I've been talking to realize.
As
far as Mekhi Lemon goes, I actually really am high on Mekhi Lemon. I was really angry when the Eagles drafted him because he was a player that I did like a lot coming out, and I think he's going to do some good things. But I do agree, he's a rookie. It's a work. It's not going to just come. He's not going to just come out running, man, right away. It's going to take some time and adjustments, man. I agree. But let's flip the script real quick defensively with this team, real quick. Like obviously they're still a pretty solid football team defensively, but I'm just not sure. I think they got definitely some problems on the back end after their all pro players and Kenyon Mitchell and why do I keep blanking on this kid's name today?
Cooper
DeJean. Yeah, why do I keep blanking on his name? And I love the guy. I think he's a phenomenal player. But after those two, man, they get a little dicey in the secondary, man. After those two, so
ladies and gentlemen, Mac's a closet Eagle fan. He's loving Cooper DeJean right now.
I respect the player, man. The guy can ball, man. I got to keep it real. This is the real deal. NFC East roundup, man. And look, that kid's been balling since he stepped on the field, man, for the Philadelphia Eagles, man. That's why I don't know why I keep forgetting his name today. I'm having one of them crazy days, but yeah. So I mean, behind those two, I think that's where the only real true question marks for this Eagles defense is on that back end. I mean, it lost Reed Blankenship. I know Reed Blankenship's not like anything super great, but at the same time, he was a pretty productive player, and he's kind of he's a little hole for him to fill back in that secondary safety position.
Well, I think it's yet to be determined, but they did sign Reek Woolen from Seattle. So they do have a legit corner there, and they have Quinyon Mitchell and then Cooper DeJean. So they're going to have 3 viable guys out there. Whether you like Reek Woolen, they signed him for 1 year, $15 million. That means he's going to play. They also signed Jonathan Jones, so they do have some veterans back there to go with Quinyon Mitchell. So I'm not as worried necessarily about the secondary. The one thing I will say is how assimilated can they get when they do get there right now. And their safeties might be a little bit where you lose everybody because they don't seem to have the same depth at the safety position as they do corner, right? They have JT Gray, they have Marcus Epps, those are kind of guys, Maximus Pulley. So, and Andre Sam, they really don't have anybody in terms of safeties that I could really hang my hat on. So that's going to be a competition where you're going to have, if you're an Eagle fan, you're going to want to watch because you're going to want to see who they got. Is it going to be the North Dakota State guy they drafted? Will he emerge, right? So will they move a guy like Kelly Ringo who hasn't had the success at corner to safety? So while I do agree with you, Mac, that there is some weaknesses, I think their starting corners are, pretty. I would just say they're serviceable, right? You have Quinyon Mitchell, who I think is a stud. Cooper DeJean, who's pretty good, and then you have Reek Woolen, who is a competent corner in this league. The other thing is their safety position. That's where they're going to probably lose a lot of games, like we did with our safety position, because guys are not going to know what to do, right? So they're going to have to figure that out. That's one thing. Keep that as a camp note that we should note down for the Eagles. Who wins their starting strong safety and free safety position?
That's going to be a competition to look at in that Eagles training camp, man. But I think we spent quite a bit of time on the Eagles. Probably some more things we could have hit on, but I think we need to move it on, as we only got so much time here today. But let's get to the Dallas Cowboys, man. Let's talk about these Cowboys, man. Offense last year that was explosive, but a defense that couldn't stop anything. Couldn't get anything done, couldn't get anything accomplished. Dak Prescott's coming into here. He's saying this year's Super Bowl or bust, putting that kind of pressure on his shoulders, man. How do you feel about these Dallas Cowboys, Adam, as we get ready for training camp, man?
Well, as you know, I'm Jerry Jones. I'm always putting Super Bowl or bust on the Cowboys, because that's just what we do. We need to get back in that winning ways. Back on the winning ways. Dak Prescott, I paid him a lot of money. He's going to get it done. George Pickens, I'm not going to do the same thing I did with Micah Parsons. No. You're going to see he's going to be signed long-term too. So, yes, expectations are high. I got him a new defensive coordinator and all that stuff. So, I expect the Super Bowl. What does Adam think? Excuse me, Jerry. Can you move over, please? I think I will take the mic now. I think the Cowboys are where every other team is in the NFC East. It's wide open. They could win a lot of games. They could be ass this year. I personally don't trust Brian Schottenheimer as a head coach. So that's where you lose me on the Super Bowl. I do believe their offense is a powerhouse with Dak Prescott. Last year, they did not miss a beat with Mike McCarthy. As a matter of fact, I think they were better in some games than Mike McCarthy in terms of offense. It was their defense that was absolutely atrocious. You remember that Week 2 shootout with the Giants made Russell Wilson's one appearance that made him think that he could play football was that game. So, we'll find out what happens this year. I like what they've done with a few things on defense. I think continuity-wise, we'll see if their offensive line. Last year, their offensive line got banged up. That's what really hurt them down the stretch. So we'll find out. But again, to me, it comes down to their defense and what they do. They need to bring that defense to the middle of the road, like 2019, something like that. They don't need to be top 10. They need to be able to just stop somebody when the going gets tough. So defensively, like if you look at their offense, they have Dak Prescott, who people need to respect, solid, good quarterback. They re-signed Javonte Williams, who had a great season last year, coming off that knee injury. I do like a couple of their other backs that they've got. They got Ryan Fenoy, who's I think is going to get a bigger role this year. You still have George Pickens and of course CeeDee Lamb out there. So they have some guys they can throw out there. And Kevontae Turpin is still around. Tight ends, Jake Ferguson, Schumacher, and they just got that Michael Trigg kid. I think they drafted him this year at Ole Miss, who's a solid receiving tight end. So their offense has been pretty good. It's defensively, what will they get defensively? Will we get Deron Bland, that was an All-Pro? Will somebody assume that second corner? They didn't, like Malik Hooker. Will he have a good season? He fell off last year. Siobhan Ravel, they're expecting a lot out of him. Does he bounce back from an injury-plagued rookie season, right? So for me, there's still a lot of question marks, right? Devontae Overshown's coming off another injury, right? They just got James Houston. They have Rashawn Gary. They got the Azariki, who came from Boston College. So they got a lot of pass rushers, but you don't have a guy that stands out. Malachi Lawrence, he's also a pass rusher they got that they drafted this year. So there's a lot of what ifs here on this Cowboy defense, and I think that's where it's gonna lie. And then for me, of course, again, I come back to Brian Schottenheimer. Do I trust him in big spots and big games? It's one thing to beat the Giants and go against these lackluster teams that suck, but when you go up against big squads, will he be able to deliver?
Well, we will find out for sure. But Iceberg Slim, man, thanks for coming in the chat, man. Appreciate you being here. He says Dallas is going to blow New York out because the Giants have no corners. I mean, it right now, that could possibly be true. But we talk about the Giants corners in a little while for sure. But the Giants do have something I think that can counter that possibly if the corner play is still not, up to par. So we'll find out. We'll see, man. But as far as these Cowboys, man, I mean, look, Dak Prescott, he's the leader of this football team. He is the captain. He's stepping up, like I said, Super Bowl or bust. He's not even just settling for the playoffs. So I kind of like that moxie. Brian Schottenheimer, year two. The offense, I think, really just clicks, man. And with Javonte Williams can have a season similar to what he did a year ago. I don't know. I don't know, because what they have at wide receiver to me is you can make an argument is the best 1-2 punch, man. I mean, there's a couple other good pairs out there around the league, but Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, that's a problem. And Dak Prescott knows how to use them.
That's a Super Bowl winning defense, offense.
If they keep that ground game going with Javonte Williams, and if Jaden Blue even steps up and can add something to that run game a little bit this year for them, who knows, man, with this Dallas Cowboys, especially the defensively, what they've done all through the offseason defensively. I agree with Joe Ferry's up here, man, with his comment about the where did I see that at? Said the Cowboys. He thinks the Cowboys got a lot of upside. I think they do. I think a lot of it's going to. I think we know what they can do offensively. It's no secret what they can do offensively. But it's all about that defense now. If that defense can turn back around and get it back together, man, I think that's it. The Cowboys are going to potentially be a really big problem, man. I just really strongly feel that way. Because their offense is going to put up points on the board. Point blank and period.
And that's where the matchup, like you said, like the guy said about the receiving core, that's where the matchup scares me for a team like the Cowboys, because they're coming into year two of an offense that had success last year. It wasn't like their offense was terrible. There wasn't a game where I'm like, oh, they were awful. They might have been rain games and some snow games that, kind of hampered the aerial attack. But when they were in it and they were lathered up and they were going, Dak Prescott had an amazing year. Now, again, like we said, we go back to the defense where they couldn't stop the run or do anything, right? They got rid of Michael Parsons and they brought in Mike Zimmer. They brought in Eberflus. That didn't work out. So we'll see, because their offense, the thing about their offense is this. They need to be so good. They need to be like the Colts back in the day. I always use the Colts back in the day. Or you can even use the Greatest Show on Turf, where the offense is so powerful that the defense becomes one-dimensional for their team, where it's pass rush, pass rush, pass rush. They don't need to worry about the run game because there's nothing there, right? They don't need to worry about, like, if you watch that Colts team back in the day in 2006 when they went and they were good, Mathis and all them, that's what they did. Peyton Manning got up, they were up 34 to like 14, and next thing you know, that team's passing all game long, and you're playing the defense because you're getting more opportunities at tip balls and blitzing more, and you don't have to worry about the run. They become one-dimensional. So that's if the Cowboys want to have a bad defense, their offense has got to become almost all-world, almost record-breaking offensive performance next year in order to have a defense that is that bad and they don't need to worry about certain things. If they could also do another thing where their offense could dictate and shorten the game because they know how to run the football now. They're going to have to figure out ways to mask that defense as they bring it up to speed. Now, they did get one of the guys that a lot of people like, Caleb Downs. We'll see how he does. We'll see how he's utilized and what the Cowboys will do with him. I think that shores up their back end. I think their safeties will be solid back there. But again, their defense doesn't need to be crazy. It needs to make it's a couple stops here in the season from being a 7-10 team to a 9-8 team. A stop here, a stop there.
That goes right in line with Joe Ferry's comment right here that I just had pulled up on the screen. Like you said, that defense just needs to be at least maybe middle of the pack, and maybe not even quite that. And they will give people problems because offensively, this team is going to put points on the board because they are very talented on the offensive side of the football, and that just is what it is. So that defense can stop people this year at all in any capacity, man. Who knows? This is why I'm so excited for this upcoming year because the NFC East, like I said, is so much parity in the NFC East. I don't know. I don't foresee the Philadelphia Eagles just running away with this division. They're going to have to earn it, I think, a little bit more. They're going to have to work a little bit harder this year to take that title. I feel like any one of these four teams in this division could possibly win that division, man. Can win this division.
I agree with you there. It is wide open, and the Cowboys, like everybody else, has that mindset of why not us? We can win the division. They didn't, they thought they ended the season offensively pretty well. They think that they made some defensive changes that will help them be middle of the road. Now they're going to have to prove it. They, of course, the NFL wants them to prove it on Sunday Night Football and opening night, right? So the opening night games for that weekend, I can't believe we're 48 days away after this broadcast airs. We're going to see Eagles, Commanders, and Cowboys, Giants, and it's just interesting to watch and see. Now, the one thing I will say about the Cowboys, every year they always have some type of weird-ass injury bug to certain parts of their team, which also hinders them. So if they get through camp healthy somehow, some way, and they can get off to a good start this season, that's where it will really matter for them because then they don't have to worry about collapsing down the stretch. But with that being said, we need to see them against powerhouse teams. If they come out and blow out the Giants, okay, great. They blow out the Giants who were horrible the year before, right? I need them to go out and win some games if I'm a Cowboy fan. And like you said, Dak Prescott put in Super Bowl or bust. He understands what's on the line. His Cowboy career is kind of been defined by hiccups and not being able to win the big game. So his mindset should be that. And if, like I said, if they are dialed in offensively and they have a career year offensively, we could be talking about the Cowboys fighting for a playoff spot, possibly wild card. Who knows, right? I don't know. We don't know their defensive scheme yet. It's going to take a few weeks to get under their belt with the new coordinator they have. Again, he's a first-year guy. I think I want to make sure where he came from. I want to make sure that we have all the current up-to-date coaches for you because I do think he came from a decent background. The defensive coordinator, Christian Parker, defensive coordinator, he was with Philadelphia last year as the passing game quarter and defensive backs coach. So he probably has some and then he was from Denver and Green Bay, defensive quality control. So he has some Vic Fangio in him. That's some of the concepts you're probably going to see out of this guy, where it's aggressive, kind of blitzing, utilizing linebackers to kind of fill holes and gaps where they need to be. In the Vic Fangio defense, he came from Philadelphia, and their passing game was I wouldn't say bad, but they did have, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and those guys, I feel, took a step yet last year. So if he was coaching them, your secondary is going to look pretty good. We'll just see what concepts he takes from that defense and how well they assimilate to that language.
Iceberg Slim, man. Thanks again for another comment here, brother. Says if New York had a better back end, it would be a better game. The problem is New York has to play zone. Dak Prescott is going to dare them to blitz.
We don't know that yet.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. I don't know that yet because this is a complete overhaul with this coaching regime and it's an overhaul in a positive way. It's a much more competent coaching regime the New York Giants have right now, and we don't know. I mean, obviously, I can't disagree totally with you either because the back end it was terrible a year ago. I mean, there's nothing else you can say. You can't say anything nice about it. It was absolutely god awful terrible. But maybe with better coaches, man, some of these players. I mean, I don't think Javon Holland. I think he's a better player than what we saw a year ago here in New York. Paulson Adebo. I think he's a better player than what we saw here a year ago as well. I mean, who knows? I mean, we just don't really know fully yet. But I can see where you're coming from with that. But I still think it's a little early to just kind of declare that because this is a different different thing we're seeing this year is different, man. And
we'll get into a little bit more of a breakdown about the Giants and the Cowboys. We'll touch on the Giants more as we get to their segment, right now.
But read this comment from Joe real quick too. I'm going to read this comment from Joe as well real quick. He says Cowboy fans talk a lot of trash about Dak, but he can spray it all over the field accurately. Him being paid so much is Jerry's fault, not Dak's. Absolutely. I mean, it's not Dak. Not Dak. He's a good quarterback. I think he does fold in the big games, and when it matters most, he's had a tendency to fold a little bit. But I think overall, he's a good quarterback. I mean, it is what it is. People can say what they want. He's effective and gets it done.
Look, sometimes you play a team game, right? So the game against the Green Bay Packers, he threw a couple of interceptions, bad. But if his defense could stop anybody, they could have got the game back because he was roaring back in the second half, right? So while big games do matter and he does fold, I guess, sometimes, he is a quarterback that if you're starting a franchise, he should be on your top of your list. He's really getting shit on because he's a Dallas Cowboy. If he played for any other team, right, this is the reverse of like the Daniel Jones situation. You got a guy who's actually good that people shit on because of the team that he's on, not because he's actually a bad player. People just look at the Cowboys and like, oh, well, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. Well, it's hard to win in the NFL, but it's also hard to win when you're playing in Dallas Stadium every week going into it. And the guy puts up numbers every week. The guy puts up close to 4,000 yards a season, throws for almost 30 touchdowns in a year. But because he plays for the Cowboys and they come up short as a team, I mean, can I blame him for them coming up short in the game? I mean, the guy has a magnificent game against the Giants, and the Giants roar back every score. Is that his fault that they do that? Like sometimes accountability, we throw a lot on the quarterback and then we throw a lot on the team. If he wasn't on the Cowboys, I think he'd have a lot more respect. If he was doing this on the Miami Dolphins right now, you think the Miami Dolphins, who don't know their asshole from their elbow, wouldn't want Dak Prescott as their quarterback right now? I mean, no slight to Malik Willis or anything like that. But if I'm the Miami Dolphins and they were like, hey, do you want Malik Willis or Dak Prescott? I'm taking Dak Prescott in a heartbeat because I know what he can do. I understand where he can go. And watch, he's going to be that guy that in the twilight of his career, he's going to go to some team that is desperate for a quarterback and only needs him to just kind of hand it off and throw, and he'll win a Super Bowl. And then you'll look back at his career and you'll look at his numbers and be like, oh, why do we praise that guy more? Because he plays for the Cowboys under that huge spotlight that everybody puts on him, and they don't give him respect because if the Cowboys aren't winning, because the Cowboys tend to do this themselves by proclaiming themselves the Super Bowl champions before they even get there. So a lot of people already hate them out the gate. And when you hate somebody out the gate, you don't appreciate some of the things that they do well because you're too busy hating on the Cowboys. It's like Deion Sanders, right? I hated Deion, but when you go back and you rewatch what Deion's done, and I was a young kid at that point, you rewatch and what he did, you respect his game. Like he was that good of a player that, I hated the Cowboys, but man, Deion was good. Same with the 49ers. People didn't always like Jerry Rice, but man, you respected his game. Randy Moss, same thing. Some of those guys that when they play a team, they might be overshadowed by the way that they're perceived in the media. And that's where Dak Prescott is. He doesn't get valued the way he should when we talk about top quarterbacks. And then when you look at his season-ending numbers, he is up there with 4,000, 5,000 yards, but then it's, oh, well, he lost a big game or he did this. But then other quarterbacks, you're like, oh, look, this guy threw 4,000 yards and blah, blah, blah. I don't know why there's a double standard with him. Maybe I just think it's because he's a Cowboy. And that's really why I think the hate is really out there.
Well, before we wrap these Cowboys up real quick, let me get these couple comments in. Iceberg Slim says the problem with Philly is Jalen Hurts is not that accurate, and he can't read defenses fast enough without AJ Brown. They will struggle on offense. It's a possibility. We're gonna have to see him, man. Like I said, still got a little bit of talent around him, man. But AJ Brown is a significant loss, man. Hurts is going to be exposed this year. They may have to rely on that a lot more this year. That's a great point, Adam. Saquon Barkley may have to get way more involved, man.
I mean, last year he was absent. He had 1,000 yards, and I don't mean to go back to the Eagles real quick, but to touch on that guy's comment, if they give the ball to 26 and make him the focal point of the offense, they will win games because Jalen Hurts plays well with the 3 to 5, third and 5s, third and 6. That's where his game translates because he can run, he can pass. You don't know what to do. His game doesn't translate, like I said last year, when they're third and +7. And the running game is stopped or they abandon the run or somebody drops a pass, right? They don't have an offense that does anything in the middle. And like he said, he is limited in the middle of the field. So they're going to have to figure out with Sean Mannion what they can do to kind of do that. To me, the solution is look at your back that you paid him a boatload of money to that basically carried you to the Super Bowl. I turn to that guy and be like, hey, do you still got some juice left? Because we're going to need you.
Absolutely. And we're ready to move on from this. Let's get ready to move on into the Washington Commanders here. But
the command posts.
Where are they? Oh, here they go, right here. Sorry, like I said, shaking off the off-season rust, folks. Shaking off the off-season rust.
Come on, we need to be sharp out the gate, man. I'm just kidding.
But the Washington Commanders here, they're coming in the training camp, and I think that a lot of questions surrounding them, swirling around them. Another team that was very compromised on the defensive side of the football a season ago, and also they were compromised by just the lack of availability for their franchise quarterback in one Mr. Jaden Daniels. What's your early thoughts on the Washington Commanders as they get prepared for training camp, man?
Well, my thoughts are one, hopefully that Jaden Daniels comes back healthy. I know people don't necessarily want to hear that, but he is a valuable watch.
I hope he come back healthy. He's my fucking fantasy quarterback, damn it.
Well, Mac has other intentions, but as an NFL watcher, right, I want to see competition. And this guy, I think, got the raw deal. If you're watching that quarterback show, as I am on Netflix, you get to follow his journey and the injury about the elbow and everything like that, and how this team is looking up to him. And I think last year, a lot of things went wrong for the Commanders. One, defensively was exposed. They got old. They just couldn't keep up. And with Jaden Daniels not being able to produce the magic that he was able to produce, they really keyed on their offense and really that weakness of the defense. Now, they were able to score some points with Mariota, but they didn't have the same dynamic effect, and they were still in the mix for some things. Somehow that defense was able to be in the mix toward the end. But at the end of the day, this team goes as Jaden Daniels goes. But I will say this. I think what was lacking last year's team was they lost Brian Robinson. And I think they lost Austin Eckler early on. And I think losing those two guys, one via free agency, one early on in the season, really changed the dynamic of that team because they had nowhere to go. And sure, you can do Jaworski, Merritt, Bill, whatever his name was, but he wasn't really a dynamic back till the end. He's a seventh-round pick. Seventh-round pick means barely makes the team. So if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm not necessarily worried about that. So now I can key my defense to focusing on Jaden Daniels. Obviously, Deebo Samuel wasn't the same player, so you didn't have to worry about him. Scary Terry was still coming into his own. So this year, I think they have a little bit more optimism because Jaden Daniels is healthy. This year, I think they're going to go back to their roots a little bit because they have David Bilal as their new offensive coordinator. So I want to see what he does. But if you're looking at their roster, right, they have Kerryon Allen from Penn State. I think that's who he is from. They got Jaworski, Merritt, Jerome Ford. I like. They got Robert Henry Jr. Right. They have Jeremy Nichols, who's still there, and then they got Rachaad White, who I also liked with Tampa Bay. So if Rachaad White can come in here, Jerome Ford can come in here, you got to give him another type of back where they're not relying on Korski Merritt to be the focal point, I think that will help them out a lot, and they can be able to do a lot of things with Jaden Daniels. Now, their receiving core is lacking a second guy. Obviously, there's rumors about them getting Diggs, possibly getting De'Ami Brown. Excuse me, not De'Ami Brown, Brandon Ayuk. So where they go with that, we'll wait till they cross that bridge to talk about it, because they're not on the roster, so you can't really analyze that in a way. But the guys they have on here, they don't have anybody, again, similar to what the Eagles have. They have one receiver and then a bunch of other guys they're going to fill in, right? They have Terry McLaurin, who still plays at a high level, but they have Van Jefferson, who's a journeyman. They have De'Ami Brown, who's a journeyman. Treylon Burks couldn't make it in Tennessee, right? They get Chris Hilton Jr., who's a rookie out of LSU, right? Jalen Lane from last year, Luke McCaffrey, Nick Nash and Antonio Williams. They have a bunch. I kind of like Antonio Williams, but we'll see what he does. Again, you can't expect a lot out of a receiver, even though he was picked in the third round. He might be a starter because the lack of players they have there. So that's one concern I would have. They do have a decent tight end room. They got the kid Chad Okwano from Tennessee. If you guys don't know him, he's pretty solid pass catching tight end. But I think they can do some things offensively. It really relies on how healthy Jaden Daniels is and how far he's going to carry them. And will there be something else that kind of ignites them? Because without him, that magical run that he had, they really don't have anybody offensively where you're like, man, I'm terrified of this offense. They have a solid offensive line, right? They're not the greatest, but they aren't all the worst. And when they're healthy, they can hold up. It's really their defense and whether or not Jaden Daniels can produce. So that's just what I think. They're optimistic. I'm hoping Jaden Daniels comes back. I want to see what he can do as a football observer. I know as an NFC East fan, I don't want to see him do anything, but as a football guy and a guy who likes quarterbacks and young players like him, I want to see him bounce back in his third year. So.
Welcome to the chat, Drew, man, from Two Giant Goofballs. Appreciate you, my brother. And if you guys have not already, you're absolutely nuts. You need to get over there at Two Giant Goofballs and hit that subscribe button, man. Guys, put in work. Drew and Rob put that work in multiple times a week, multiple streams, and they do a really great job, man. So make sure y'all go hit that subscribe button at Two Giant Goofballs, man. But just a couple comments real quick. Iceberg Slim here said Washington Commanders have a good chance to do something. I thought they should have drafted that tight end from Oregon in the first round instead of Sonny Styles. I think that would have been maybe a smidge high for him. And Sonny Styles sitting on the board, I mean, that's a big need that they had to address as well.
They need that.
So, yeah, I don't know. But
I'm not saying you're wrong with that Saeed guy, right? Didn't he end up with the Jets?
Yeah, he ended up being one of the Jets' multiple first-round picks. Yeah.
So, well, I agree with you there. The 85 is going to get a lot of burn at the tight end position, and I think, and I don't know if Zach Ertz is still playing. I don't see his name on the roster. I don't think.
No, that injury. There's no way he's ready. He's coming out this season. That injury was devastating.
Right. So I just think really what they need to focus on is I hate to say it, getting back to basics. Don't make Jaden Daniels be in the compromising position that he was last year, where you're, putting him in harm's way. Now, people are asking, well, the guys get injured. I watched that quarterback show, and let me tell you, quarterbacks get injured in the pocket, outside the pocket. It doesn't matter, right? They're all going to get injured. You want to reduce the risk of those hits by the running. Right, and Jaden Daniels was a freak injury last year. Plus, he had a bad knee. I think this year, sometimes you have a sophomore slump. I think this year he has a lot to prove. We'll see if he can do it. He has a solid, like I said, offensive line around him. I don't know if I feel Dan Quinn. I don't know what he's going to do. But let's focus on the other side of the ball. We can talk about Jaden Daniels all day, but the real reason the Commanders were bad last year wasn't their offense per se. It was their defense. I mean, Marcus Mariota kept him in games. There was times where you're like, they were an interception away from winning a game, right? They were a play here or a play there. But defensively, they didn't do anything. They didn't have the same magic. Bobby Wagner looked like an old man out there. A lot of their guys got banged up and injured. Their defensive line didn't really show up or show out. Von Miller, while he had 6 sacks, didn't really do much in that department. Let's see what they can do with Dan Quinn in this offense. And they got some revamped tools and revamped pieces in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say what's up to somebody new to the chat. Shot by Sean and the DMV, man. JD5 Revenge Tour. Look, I hope you're right, except for when he plays against the Giants, because I do, like I said, that is my guy in fantasy football, my dynasty league. He is my quarterback, so I need him to play a lot more games than he did a year ago. And I think, speaking of just real quick, touching on him again real quick, because I think that's what it's all about. I mean, Washington, there's a lot of these speculation about some of these guys on the roster, but it's all about JD5, man. They will go as far as he can take them because he's a player, man. They didn't have anything necessarily special his rookie season, but he still had that team out there getting after it, man. I mean, when he's healthy on the field, he's to me is already borderline an elite quarterback. I know it's only 3 years in, but I think you saw that last year, the struggles this team had a year ago when he missed all that time, that he's just one of those guys, man. He's the difference maker ultimately, and this team is only going to go as far as he can take them, man. And if he can't stay healthy, it's going to continue to be a major issue for the Washington Commanders, man.
Well, like we said, I agree with you there. They did some retooling in their secondary. They got Quan Martin, right? They got him as a free safety, so they upgraded that position. They got him in the draft, so he's going to be back there. They have a couple other guys. Trey Amos, I like. Trey Hawkins III, it might be good. Amik Robertson, while he is not like the greatest corner, he's competent enough for them. He came from the Raiders, and then he came from also Detroit. Mike Saron still, he's competent. They got rid of, obviously, Lattimore and a few other guys. That's twofold. One, that means Trey Amos is doing well, who I liked coming out. And they also just picked up Rasul Douglas. If you remember him, he played with Miami recently. So they've got some corners in the he played with Miami last year, actually. He made a couple big plays last year. So they signed him to a corner. So we'll see what happens. If they can, again, we look at the Cowboys, we're saying the same thing about this team. If they can become middle of the road defensively, they can win some games. It's not in the realm of possibility, as we've discussed this entire show, that any one of these four teams could end up holding the NFC East crown. Would you be surprised the Commanders did? I wouldn't. Would you be surprised the Cowboys?
Not at all.
I wouldn't. Even the Giants? I wouldn't. And I'm not saying the gap is closed yet. Obviously, you said at the top of the show, we still have to look at the Eagles as the champs. But what it means is, to me, and Mac had a good thing. Mac, you can talk about your point about the NFC East, because I think we need to put that bow on that. That discussion was very good. But what I'm seeing overall is there's a lot of parity in the NFC East right now. So that's why I believe we can win. But if we have some time, Mac and I had a solid discussion on what he thinks and what I think. And I'd love to get you guys in the audience what your guys' thought process as well. But we'll keep it moving on the Washington team.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, like I said, it's going to me, it really comes mostly down to Jaden Daniels. But at the end of the day, I think, this Washington team, this division is so wide open that I wouldn't, like you said, I would not be shocked at all if they ended up walking away with this NFC East title this year. And see what Sonny Styles can be, the player that a lot of us think he may be coming into this league, man. I saw it happen, and I said once the writing was on the wall and Giants got Arvell Reese and the way everything else played out, once Cleveland didn't take once he was still sitting on the board for Washington, I kind of had a feeling that was the direction they was going to go. And we'll see what this young man can do, man. I hate the fact that he's in the NFC East. Him and Caleb Downs both in the NFC East. I mean, just riddle me that. How does that even happen? But
listen, if you look at it, right, if you were to put their front four in front of us, right, their front seven, they got Leo Chanel, linebacker from Kansas City, right? People like him, up-and-coming player, solid defensive player. So they already upgraded, not saying over this version of Bobby Wagner, because Bobby Wagner is kind of old, right? Frankie Luvu now doesn't have to worry about playing in the middle, so he can play a little bit more outside. He'll be freed up. And then you have Sonny Styles in the middle, right, who has those two guys flanking him, their defense is already better linebacker-wise just out of whoever they were putting out last year, right? And if Frankie Louvu can have his season where he had last year, and a couple of these guys on defense can just be strong, like the Dorrance Armstrong is going to come back, right? They just signed Kalavion Chason from New England. He had 7 sacks last year, so they're bolstering that game. They have a couple of guys they still have in Javon Kinlaw, who they paid a lot of money to, and then they still have Deron Payne and Dedrick Wise and a few other guys. So they have some solid players where if their linebackers can hold up in the middle and they can do some things and blitz Luvu and be able to kind of move guys around, it's not out of the realm of possibility to say that their defense becomes solid enough that they're competing again for a title. Like it's not that. It used to be a stark contrast between the Commanders and the Giants. Those were the two. You knew those teams were fighting for third and fourth place because of just their rosters, their coaching staffs. You knew it. This year, anybody can be in fourth place. I can't really predict it at all. Now, I can tell you now in July, maybe we can go down the line and say the Eagles are the champions until proven otherwise. But you can make a case, and maybe that's what we'll do in next week's show, is make a case for these teams as to why they win the NFC East. But I'm just telling you right now, don't sleep on the Commanders as a team that's just going to lie down this year. They got a lot to prove, and we'll see if it comes together.
Absolutely. And I actually make a bold prediction about the Commanders before the end of this season. It's not nothing too crazy, I don't think. But before the end of this season, before the season ends, the Washington Commanders' lead running back will be Katron Allen, the running back out of Penn State they drafted late in this draft. And I think that was a sneaky great pick, day 3 draft pick. And I think before this season ends, by the time we get to the end of this season, he will end up emerging as their lead back.
I agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a starter out the gate.
That's a possibility.
I mean, only because I like what Jacoby Kamara could do. But I'm telling you, go back and watch the film with Brian Robinson. And it's not because Brian Robinson is a great running back, but look how that offense changed with a dynamic downhill runner in their midst. That changed everything for Jaden Daniels. You couldn't defend him. They had the RPO game. They had this, they had that. It's the same thing that they do in Detroit with Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery, right? They want you to have that dynamic run game that runs downhill with those two backs. Well, guess what? If you add in Jaden Daniels running to a strong run game, you become indefensible at some points, especially a guy who's, I believe, Jaden Daniels a little bit more dynamic than a guy like Jalen Hurts, right? So pair him with a running back that the defenses actually fear, and now you're putting 9 in the box. And then you have this guy move and shake and do a little shimmy, reset his shoulders, and throw a 90-yard bomb to Terry McLaurin. I mean, that's just how things work. But I'll leave it at that. I know we are running up on some time, but we still have one more team. But we all know about our team, so it'll be very quick.
Absolutely. Let's get to them. The New York Football Giants, man. A lot to take in, man. This offseason has been interesting to say the least, man, for the New York Football Giants, man. A lot to be excited about, but still a lot of question marks, man. Adam, let you take the floor, man.
Well, thank you. I think this year, folks, I was thinking about this. You're going to get a different sense of the Giants, right? This year, the reason why we're all optimistic is because of 2 things: John Harbaugh and the fact that we believe in our quarterback, right? Those 2 things alone have already alleviated stress from my life. I don't need to go in this Sunday knowing that they're going to look like absolute dog shit. I don't need to worry if my coach knows how to get his team lined up and ready to play. I don't need to worry about them collapsing or not being tough enough. They're going to West Virginia, 10 practices there in pads. 10 practices in pads, okay? There ain't no more Club Med that we're talking about. Did you watch that video? Go watch. I didn't watch all the video. Matt got to watch more of it, but watch the intro that John Harbaugh has. Win. WIN. What's important now, right? What a message. He's a New York freaking Giant. You can see the enthusiasm he's getting out of there. Now, there weren't other guys as enthused yet, and they will be. But that's what Harbaugh's doing. He's like, guys, we worked hard to where we are at. And so for me, I'm embracing this change. And you're going to see in a probably mechanized demeanor a little bit more, not necessarily trashing of the Giants or blowing smoke up your ass about how good or bad they are, but more of an even-keeled measure on things. We're not going to come in saying, fire the coach, step on necks, cut off heads. We are going to look at this team as like, man, sit back, relax, and let John Harbaugh do his thing. And at the very least, you're going to get a constant playoff contender at the worst with John Harbaugh in the building. You may not win the Super Bowl, but you will be a constant playoff contender. And for the 10 years that the Giants haven't done shit, I will take a consistent playoff contender. Now, does that mean they're going to the playoffs next year? No, I'm not going that far. However, my bold prediction this year is don't be surprised if the Giants end up winning the NFC East. That's my bold prediction, right? And maybe I'll get laughed out the building, but that's the confidence I feel when you have a coach like this. You don't necessarily look down the sideline. You're like, man, look at that fat bald guy. I hope he knows what he's doing. No, you're going to look at this coach knowing how meticulous he is in what Max said, the details. The coaching staff that he's put around, I already told you early on, they had 3 offensive coordinators. They got a guy that they trusted as a number one, well, maybe not the number one target, but one of the top targets as their defensive coordinator, okay, who's already implementing the type of defense you want to live by, the type of attitude you want to have. He ain't going to praise you. He's not your friend. He's there to be your coach. He's there to be hard on you. He's there to get the best out of you. Right? If you see what John Harbaugh does, the reason why this is leadership, and we'll get into some things in a minute. Leadership is how you conduct yourself when the going gets tough, right? And how you can portray that against people. How do you relate to them? John Harbaugh relates to you because he's tough. But then you know what he does? He says, you're excited, right, coaches? Right. Meaning, yes, they are reassured because I'm reassured. The confidence that he exudes, you can tell, and that will build throughout his program. And he's gotten leaders. You may not like Matt Nagy, you may not like Greg Roman, but you better like the details because that's what they're going to hinder on. And you won't be losing games next year because of stupidity, offsides and all this other bullshit that we get caught for. No, you're going to lose games just because the other team is a little bit more talented than we are. The other team wins because, hey, they got the ball last and our young cornerback makes a mistake because we're still adjusting to the defense, right? Or we just flat out met a better team like maybe the Rams or Seattle or something like that, where we're just not quite there, but we're going to give effort, right? That's what we want, and that's what makes me so excited. The other thing that we noted is Mac talked about, let me get back on that leadership. Something that they brought up against with Cam Scatterboo. I know you guys seen Cam Scatterboo doing his dumb backflips. Dude, don't do your backflips. What really impressed me was how Harbaugh addressed it. He addressed it where he laughed about it and said, oh, next time you got to stick the landing or whatever, right? But then you saw by his body language, because they showed him, he kind of grabbed his nose like as in like, what do I got to do to get through to this guy? Meaning, he's going to go talk to Cam and be like, yo, bro, I don't mind you being a zany, crazy person. And, you know those crazy guys. You had one in the program, the guy that used to fade his pace with the skull mask and he's breaking his head through the damn, shattering car windows with his head and shit. That's like him, like Jeremy Shockey. That's what Cam Scatterboo reminds me of. Guy who's going to go outside and be like, oh, you think I can break this glass with my head? Watch me. Ah, and headbutts the glass, right? Some crazy, zany football player, like that guy in Replacements, Flacco, I think his name was, or whatever. The linebacker that Bateman, I think his name was. The linebacker that is crazy, right? That's what Scatterboo is. But the way that Harbaugh handled that and how he's handling some of these flare-ups is really what I'm liking to watch. It really gives me hope that this team is going to ascend. And my last point is, the thing that excites me is the training camp being hard. You're really going to weed out the guys who don't want to be here, the ones that didn't work. There won't be no half-assing it. If you are a guy like Evan Neal, or you're a guy like Deontay Banks, who me and Mac have our challenges to see who makes the team, these guys you cannot falter. There is nothing that you can do. You cannot have slip-ups. You cannot have bad days. You cannot have any of that because that's how fine of a line these coaches' staffs are going to go. There is going to be no margin for error. There is not going to be any scholarships being handed out to guys. And that's what I love. And I'll let Mac have the floor.
Absolutely. Great point, Adam. This camp will definitely weed out the weak. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau already went on the record and said this is so far has been like the toughest offseason workout program that he's been since he's been in the league, since he's been here. So
that's sad.
Just good things, man. But let me get some of these comments real quick before I move on. Joe Ferry says, yeah, but if we do somehow suck, we will be totally out of answers, though. That's a fact. I won't have an answer anymore. Vito, welcome to the chat, man.
What do you mean by we'll be out of answers? You mean
I mean, because I think what he means is because everybody kind of, we got Harbaugh. Now we got we say we feel like we got a real coach and things should be moving in a better direction. And if we still absolutely suck, then we don't know where else to turn anymore. At that, I think he's kind of in that direction.
I to that point, unless the injuries happen and they completely are decimated, is the only real way I think we suck. Worst case scenario is we're going to be like an 8-9 team. That's what I feel like at worst we're going to be. Is like you're going to see maybe 7 to 9 wins, realistically, and you're just going to see competency, right? I don't believe you're going to see what you saw last year and the last 2 seasons. We won 7 games total, and a lot of them were blowouts in like blowout fashion. We got beat. That you won't see. That I can pretty much guarantee.
I don't think so. I don't see that, but I mean, just you never know, anything can happen. But Vito,
if that happens, oh my God.
Yeah, I just want to say hi. What's going on, Vito? Thank you. Welcome to the chat, brother. I appreciate you. Because I know y'all are discussing the NFC East, but I'm a huge Lions fan. So is my girlfriend, unfortunately. What are your guys' thoughts on who can win the North this year? Appreciate y'all. Just real briefly, man, I think that's another wide open division as well. I mean, it's going to be a very highly competitive division. The Bears, Green Bay, Lions, Minnesota, that's going to be a battle. And honestly, I think any one of those 4 teams can win that division, to be honest. I mean, the Lions we had the Lions on our schedule because they finished in last place last year in that division, and they were still really, really good. So let's put that into perspective about that division. I mean, it's wide open to me. It's hard for me to make a call on that right now, bro.
I'll be fun, and I'll say the Minnesota Vikings are going to win that division. How about that?
Well, okay, there we go. Well, so when the Giants get a couple of players on the back end, they are going to rule the East. We'll see.
First off, let's talk about that. You keep hitting on our corners as they suck. Like Paul Sanadipo is not ass. I mean, he had a bad season last year, but I'm going to give him Denard Wilson, where he even said in an interview with John Schmelk that this defense is more suited to his strengths. Let me give him this year to kind of prove to me that he was worth it before I call him ass. Greg Newsome, I'm absolutely enamored with. Like he is like I'm rooting for that kid.
He's a wild card. He's definitely a wild card.
I'm rooting for him because I think he got the raw deal in like he got traded to Jacksonville, and then sometimes you get utilized the same way. And I think he has a renewed sense of self and he wants to be here. And I want to see if being around Harbaugh and understanding some of the things that Denard Wilson does, will he fit better into this defense? I do believe Greg Newsome's going to be at least at the worst cornerback 3 in this offense in this back end, and then Colton Hood. Like we're talking about a 2nd round pick who's a solid player. If he develops or plays adequate football, because you hope that Holland and Newman can kind of mask some of his deficiencies. You might be right. You might have some, but I think they have some talent to work with if the guys put it together. I'm on a wait and see approach with the back end. Because go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say there's also another thing about that whole thing that I think everybody is just missing the point about. You bring in Denard Wilson as our defensive coordinator. God has a pretty good track record as a defensive coordinator in this league. Did some decent things, some good things for Tennessee's defense, but he's also a defensive back specialist. Like that's what he does. That's where he propelled to that next level in his coaching journey from. He coaches up D-backs. And look, sure, they've been running around in just shorts and T-shirts, but I've heard a lot of very positive things about players, that one in particular that I would not have expected to hear positive things about. I'm not going to necessarily go there. I'm still not sold on the guy. But he's had a really good offseason thus far. I mean, sure, like I said, running around in shorts and T-shirts and whatever. He's got a lot to prove to win this fan base back over. But this is a defense that may complement his skill set a lot. That the reason why I nearly drafted him in the first place. And also, we just don't know. It's a lot of unknowns. I mean, even with the safety position, Tyler Nubin, is he really that bad? Or is he just, I don't know. We don't know. I mean, he's got some good traits, but he hasn't been what you picked him in the second round to be for you. But also, like I said, Javon Holland at safety, is he that season? It's got to be. He's never looked that way his entire career. You know what I mean? That's what we saw last year. And then even when you bring a guy like Jason Pinnock back, name doesn't, strike fear in anybody's heart, but he's a solid guy to be now part of that rotation back there as well in the safety position. So, I mean, it's a lot of things, a lot of factors right now. I think the jury is still out on the New York Giants back end, to be honest. But I do see where you're going with that, Iceberg. I see where you're going, but I think the jury's still out. And what's up, Tudo? Appreciate you, brother.
Let's navigate that for a minute, okay? The thing that excites you is some of the things that we used to have fight, not you and I, but fan bases used to have fights with when we would pick a certain player or go for a certain thing. So, for example, let's use Jackson Dart, right? You were excited about the reason why you may not have been high on him, but you were excited because you had a coach that hopefully worked with quarterbacks and had this reputation, so you kind of got excited that maybe if he works with this guy, he can make him something. That's where you are at with Denard Wilson, where you're excited about the coach more so than any coach that we've had in the last few years. I wasn't excited about Shane Bowen. I was excited about Wink Martindale. I really liked him. But outside of that, their last couple of defensive coordinators, which was Shane Bowen, he's been ass. But you're excited because of what this guy as a coach could do. So like you, I'm leaving a lot of these guys to give. Normally, we have our reservations of these guys. But Deonte Banks, we'll find out if he sucks or not. Because if he's dialed in, because now they're utilizing his strengths as opposed to just saying whatever defense they were running out there and him not being engaged. Because, again, leadership is about engagement. How do you engage this person where they are sitting 10 toes down in the meeting, where they're paying attention and buying in to what you're selling? And if they're buying in, we talked about this early on in off-season shows when we were talking about John Harbaugh in January, was guys like this have a clean slate. So take it to heart, right? I know people are going to, get weird at me, but you watch some of these reality shows and they have like experiments, like Love Island or whatever those shits are, and you go there and you're trying to meet somebody. If you don't immerse yourself in the experience when you have a clean slate, you're not going to be able to get the best out of yourself, because now you're worried about what you did last year. If anyone's been with a new job and a new regime, right, and you get that chance in your career to do that, and you have a chance where you have to prove yourself, well, guess what? And you have a defense that might work out for you. It's a renewed sense of energy. I guarantee you, if Brian Dable's the coach this year, Deonte Banks is probably not even on the team. He's probably not making it. He's just probably not. It's the same thing with Evan Neal. I wouldn't be surprised if Evan Neal is showing a different side of him. Does he make the team? He might not, just because of the numbers games, and it might be a little too late, you know what I mean? Because they have other guys in line who are probably going to also earn that slate, right? And Josh Azudu and everything like that. So we'll see. But I just want to make that point, because I think your excitement with the coaches is really what is the peak about your reservation with the DBs. You're giving them a shot because you believe in the coaching staff.
I mean, I do. And Drew here says, we heard a lot of good on Jalen Hyatt last year too, and I will believe it when I see it. Now, I'm with you with the believe it when I see it part. I'm not just anointing Deonte Banks. My only pushback on this is we've seen a lot better football from Deonte Banks, Not like I said, not that we've seen great football, but it's still been better football from him than we've seen from Jalen Hyatt over the course of their careers. I mean, both came out in the same draft class. One was a first-round pick, one was a third-round pick. But we've seen at least a rookie season that had some degree of promise from Deonte Banks. Jalen Hyatt has shown us absolutely nothing his entire career.
He had Jalen Hyatt made plays in his rookie year. I mean, go look. He had a
couple of splash plays,
but his development. Well, let's look at this. His development, again, he's got a clean slate. He's a guy where right now there's no favoritism, right? He's on the same playing field as Braxton Berrios. He's on this, he's on that. Yeah, you could look at his past and say, yeah, he sucks, but will he be a guy that takes this opportunity and says, hey, I deserve to be in this league. I'm going to steal one of these spots, right? Because he has people in the building that like him. He has immense speed, right? And if you look at the Giants overall and what they're doing in their receiving core, right? He has a chance to slip into the sixth spot if he plays special teams. Now, let's look at that, right? You have Calvin Austin, who I think is going to make the team. You have Odell Beckham Jr., who's, I believe, probably at number 6. Braxton Berrios, Dalen Cambridge, Bo Collins, Malachi Fields is going to make the team. Xavier Gibson, Isaiah Hodgins, Jalen Hyatt, Ryan Miller, Darnell Mooney, Darius Slayton, Malik Neighbors, Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, there is a world where he can outperform the bottom end of these guys, but he has to understand that guys like Beckham, Berrios, guys like Juju Smith-Schuster, they have other qualities that he doesn't possess. That's what will hurt Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt won't be hurt because of his speed. He won't be hurt because of he's making plays. He'll be hurt because of his lack of utility. He doesn't play special teams, and he's not big enough to be like a Juju Smith-Schuster out there to be a blocker. So what can he do? Catch a couple fly balls? Great. I got Calvin Austin and Darnell Mooney and even Odell Beckham Jr. to do all that. So
that's my point. It's such an uphill battle. I mean, he's right now, currently, as things stand, he's buried so far on the depth chart, man. Where's his I don't see opportunities coming his way, barely in practice, let alone even in the preseason. He'll be out there in the fourth quarter of preseason games. I mean, look, I just don't see opportunities for Jalen Hyatt. I just don't see it. But like you said, anything can happen.
Well, it depends. It depends on what you do to me for what you do with Darius Slayton, because that guy to me is an expendable piece. If you think that, because I think like if you look at Malik Neighbors, right? You look at Darnell Mooney, you've made it this far. I don't need to see Darius Slayton. He does a lot of the same things a lot of these other guys do. Mooney and Slayton are almost the same guy. They have the same draft. They were basically drafted the same round, 1 year apart, almost have the same identical numbers. It's kind of eerie to me. But I think Darnell Mooney has a little bit more upside. My point is, if Calvin Austin comes through, Malachi Fields comes through, and you got a guy like, Darnell Mooney, and then you have Malik Neighbors, that's already, 4 or 5 guys right there that I named. Then a Braxton Berrios can be on your team because he returns punts and kicks. So you can also kick that to Austin. It depends on what you're doing with special teams. And you know that they love special teams, which you just mentioned about the kicker, right? So it's going to come down to who's going to play special teams and if you can move a guy like a Jalen Hyatt or Darius Slayton. I don't think those guys are going to just be cut and gone. I think somebody will call, especially if Hyatt got a new sense, new fire under his ass, right? And he's not going to make the team. You need to turn to Joe Shane and be like, I just gave you a 4-year extension. You need to go call up somebody and get me a draft pick so I'm not losing this guy on just nothing alone because he's not going to make the team because we don't have a spot for him. So, we'll see. This is going to be a tough camp. There's probably going to be some injuries. So with this receiving core, about hamstrings and, I don't think Slayton's going to play right away, and I don't think Neighbors is going to play right away. You're going to get some reps. What he does with those reps is going to be on him.
It's an uphill battle for him, for sure, on this roster at least. But and that's not saying much considering the way the wide receiver room is set up. So it's like
that's kind of funny when you say that.
Yeah. So put that in a perspective. But Tudo here says, Big Mac, me and my mates are starving over here, mate. By any chances, there's some cooking for us tonight? Look, I got to cook for myself tonight still, Tudo. I'm starving myself, brother. But I'd love to share, man. I'd fix you a plate. But
I can only
yeah,
give you
but
ramen noodles right now in my cupboard. We're a little bare this week. I have to go to the food shop. Matuto, I got at least a warm cup of coffee and some hot soup. I can give you at the worst.
Iceberg, man, it's been a pleasure having you in the chat with us, rocking with us, man. Assuming you're a Cowboys fan, I think it's safe to assume you're a Cowboys fan. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Tyler says Tyler Smith, Tyler Booker, Cooper BB, best guard center combination in NFL. Dallas got the O line to go with them weapons. They do have a solid O line if they can stay healthy. That's for sure. They do. I think they might have maybe a couple question mark at the tackles. I'm not really can't remember how that stacked up. They may have a few question marks there, but overall, solid offensive line for sure. Definitely one of the best in the league.
They stay healthy, they'll be in the mix.
Yeah. Hope the Giants draft another O lineman next season and just go after O lineman like the Cowboys do. I mean, the Cowboys hit on the O lineman though, because the Giants draft O lineman. The Cowboys,
we did that.
The Cowboys hit on the guys. Yeah, the Cowboys hit on the guys they draft. That's
if you look at 2020, right? You drafted Andrew Thomas, Matt Pert, Josh Zudu, Marcus McKeithen, Evan Neal. You drafted JMS, John Michael Schmitz. You had J.C. Davis right now that you got in here. Like, we've drafted O-linemen out the butt cheeks. They just don't hit. And that's the difference. Is like, this is why I think the renewed sense of energy is here. Because John Harbaugh finds undrafted guys, right? We got Daniel Falele here, right? Do I think he's going to be great? No, everybody hates fucking Falele, but he's better than Evan Neal, right? Everybody loves him already better than Evan Neal, right? This team, you're going to see a lot of these guys. You're going to see guys come out of the woodwork. I like a lot of their O-linemen this year. I don't think you're going to see a lot of giant linemen next year that you see this year. It's going to be a whole revamped line. So let's go over some of these guys, right? They have Andrew Thomas, staple. John Michael Schmitz, I think his job's on the line this year. He's got to play well. John Runyon, this is going to be his last year because you have Marcus Membo who can play inside. You have Francis Malanoa, who we like right now. They kept Jake Kubis, okay? They brought in Falele on a one-year deal. They re-signed Jermaine Illuminar. They got J.C. Davison. They have Josh Azudu. So you have a lot of guys here that are also depth guys. So for me, I got Jake Kubis here. He could be a center. I don't need to worry about or Brian Hudson. I don't need to. If JMS is the weak point of my line, then put somebody else in. Put in Kubis. Put in Brian Hudson. I think the Giants have a lot of depth with Membo, with Malanoa, with J.C. Davis, where I like their line going forward in the long term. Do I think they still need to draft a guy? Absolutely, because eventually Andrew Thomas is going to have to move or be moved or is going to get injured or may not last because of how he is. But I think the Giants are off to a good start with their depth. And if they can get something out of Azudu or Kubis or some of these guys, by the way, they brought in Kubis last year. He made the team. He's on the roster this year. I look at the Giants team where they're going to have some depth. There's going to be some players that we hear on this roster right now that we're going to hear about on other teams that either were traded for or couldn't make the roster because the competition was too good, right? And then there are going to be guys who we're finally going to get rid of who we knew were bad. Like, let's say Azudu or Evan Neal. We're going to be like, well, we knew that didn't work out. But there are going to be other guys where we're going to be like, wow, we got some solid depth. I'm excited for this team. When you look at their roster, it's fun.
Yeah, well, Evan Neal is absolute doo-doo. He's not making a roster as far as I'm concerned. But let's talk about it real quick before we wrap up because we're running a little long right here. But before we wrap up, the New York Giants offensive line and the steps they took last year towards getting better. It was definitely a better unit a season ago, but I still think there are huge question marks on the interior of this O-line. And I just want to just real quick how you feel about the offensive line and the development of the offensive line and just how important they're going to be for the New York Giants.
I think I was just mentioning it. I think their offensive line is got a lot of depth, a lot of young pieces, a lot of big bodies. I think you're going to see J.C. Davison at some point down in the next few years, maybe even this year, where they're going to put him in the game and get some burn. I like the depth where for the first time in a long time, this giant O-line, I can see guys making the back 4 or 5 guys being replacements for the starters, meaning like, okay, we don't need to worry about Illuminor, even though we signed him. I'm not worried about him. I have Marcus Membo here. I don't have to rush him out now. He can develop as a right tackle because I have Illuminor. I don't need to worry about J.C. Davidson, but I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I'll go on a limb right now. You want another hot take? J.C. Davidson is going to be the starting right guard over John Runyon. All right? I'm putting that out there right now. You have 2 rookies flanking John Michael Schmitz. Just because if you look at J.C. Davidson, he's a powerful guy. All right, he's over 320-something pounds, where John Runyon is not that. He is not that guy. He's just, I'm sorry that people don't want to say it. He's also, J.C. is a little, is he from Illinois? Yeah, he's from Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois, yeah.
322, 6'4". Ideal guard. Runyon is on his last year, okay? I wouldn't be surprised if you traded him at some point and some big guard goes down, because I can see J.C. Davidson. That's how confident I am. 6'4", 307 is John Runyon, right? And did he have a great year last year? No. Was he one of the worst linemen? No. But do I feel like he's a solution? There's a reason why he didn't get extended and Illuminor did. So for me, I want to see that battle in camp. If John Runyon goes down, I'm going with J.C. Davidson. They drafted him for a reason. There's nothing but good things I've heard out of the guy. The guy is enormous when it comes to being a guard. And imagine Francis Malinois, John Michael Schmidt, and now you have J.C. Davidson. If you can't run behind that O-line, I don't know what.
Well, I would love to see that play out, because I think you're right. I mean, somebody mentioned it earlier on somewhere I was watching, some podcast I was watching, and that was something they actually brought up about John Runyon not even really truly fitting that style of interior offensive lineman that John Harbaugh likes, and so we'll see how that works out, man. But real quick, these last couple of comments before we wrap up for this week. Jesse Gardner, welcome to the chat, man. He's a Dallas Cowboys fan. Obviously, Dallas Cowboys had the best nation. Go Cowboys Nation. Okay, well, we'll see. See y'all week 1, man. I can't wait. It should be fun, man.
Oh, it's going to be a long 48 days.
Says Joe Ferry says they don't have good Italian food out there in Cali, man, where he's at, man. My formula is working great too, though. Thank you. I appreciate you always, man. I'm always continue to appreciate that, man. Almost time to renew, as a matter of fact. Says Adam is bullish. I guess he was talking about I don't think that's when he brought that up when you were talking about J.C. Davis taking John Runyon's spot.
Listen, man, I'm just telling you, the profile fits.
And like Tudo, here's Tudo, like you said, repeating our sentiments right here. F all Cowboy losers all day. It's going to be a fun season in the NFC East, man. I wanted to dig. We did wish we could dig into a little bit more, but we'll be back next Wednesday. We'll have a little more fun next Wednesday as we really, really ramp up the training camp talk, man. And yeah, so we'll ramp that. What we're talking about once again, NFC East, just having like some fun talking about maybe making some predictions, whatever. We'll talk. Me and Adam will figure it out, man. We'll bring a good show to y'all again next week, man. We definitely appreciate y'all all for tuning in. And Tudo, I definitely will, man. I appreciate you, man. And thanks, Joe. Definitely appreciate you hanging with us, man. But we are going to wrap it up for this week, man. It's been another awesome edition of the Real Deal NFC's Roundup, man. I am Mac the Giants fan. This is my guy, super dope co-host Adam Costas. Make sure you go like, subscribe, ring the bell at both of our channels, man. And sub up to the Hardcore Sports Network as well if you haven't done that already. It's a great network of guys putting out some great content covering everything sports for you, man. So definitely like, subscribe, and ring that bell, man, because this is only the beginning, man. We're going to be back here with y'all next Wednesday and each and every Wednesday from here on out until ain't nobody standing in the NFC East, man. Jesse Gardner, thank you again for joining. And we appreciate you, man. You hang out with us every Wednesday, talk about the NFC East as a whole, the whole division, bro. So if you want to come out with us on Wednesdays, hang out in the chat, definitely welcome, man, even though you're a Cowboys fan. But I am Mac the Giants fan, though, and this is my guy, Adam Costas, and we'll see y'all next Wednesday. Peace. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants Fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants Fan. That's MACDA Giants Fan.